There seems to be this thing that I see quite frequently, not so much in any of the videos I've done on guitars that had them, but it seems like it pops up in discussions on other guitar channels when they feature a guitar with a wood that's considered to be cheap. One of the biggest ones being Pau Ferro. A lot of people have this really strong dislike for Pau Ferro fretboards. Not liking the look of it is not what we're discussing here, because the look of a fretboard is completely subjective. Some people don't like the look of rosewood, some people don't like the look of maple, ebony, so on and so forth. But the thing that in an electric guitar, when you're plugged into your amp, you're not going to hear a noticeable difference in your tone by having different fretboard woods. And I know this because many guitar players that I've heard, many of the guitars that I've played that have different fretboard materials don't sound noticeably different. The only differences you'll notice are whatever differences are in the brand of pickups between the different instruments, or subtle differences in hand-wound pickups, and even machine wound. But I see a lot of people, they want to shit on Pau Ferro fretboards because they think it's a, quote, cheap wood. And this seems to have coincided with the rise in the use of it through Fender's Player Series guitars, which has given the Pau Ferro an unfair stigma. Because prior to being used in the Player Series Stratocasters and, well, actually all their Player Series guitars, Pau Ferro was generally marketed as a premium wood option, being used by Fender in the Stevie Ray Vaughan signature guitar. And one of the biggest users of Pau Ferro is Sir. Here we have the Sir Modern Plus Curly. Features: neck profile, pickups, frets, body shape modern, body wood, basswood, another wood that gets labeled as being cheap. Binding, fingerboard wood, Pau Ferro. And this is a $3,285 US dollars guitar. But, you know, they're using cheap wood. So, by your logic, by the people that want to talk about basswood being cheap and Pau Ferro being cheap, what makes this a $3,000 guitar? The classic S, made out of whatever that type of wood is. Polonia, I don't know how to say it. I've seen this slag. I think my trash can just blew away.
A few moments later.
I've seen this being slagged as being a cheap wood. And here we are, $3,349 guitar. Let's see, the Sir Standard Plus fingerboard, roasted maple, Pau Ferro, $3,499. And it's a basswood body. Huh. Let's see, what do we got here? Modern Plus, Pau Ferro, basswood body. Finish. Let's see, what do we got here? African. I really need to look up how to pronounce some of these types of woods. Even neck wood I've never heard of. Kaya, whatever. Pau Ferro fingerboard. What's this one cost? $2,699. And then we have John Sir's signature guitar. $4,299. White Limba bodywood. Okay, well that he likes Limba. Pau Ferro fingerboard wood. So here's these guitars that are north of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 using a, quote, cheap wood for their fingerboards. So all of you that want to tell me Pau Ferro is cheap substitute for Rosewood and a cost-saving feature. Explain to me what justifies these price tags then. Because I would love to know what kind of gymnastics you're going to perform to tell me how these guitars that have Basswood bodies and Pau Ferro fingerboards, how they're premium guitars. It's just, there's so much bullshit involved in what people want to believe about the construction and the types of materials that are used in guitars that it's unreal. I feel like a lot of it probably has to do with like purchase justification. Somebody bought a $5,000 Mahogany body, Rosewood fingerboard, Gibson Les Paul, or a $6,000 custom shop Alder Strat with a maple neck and a maple fretboard, so they need to shit on these things to make it seem like their product is that much more of a superior product, when in reality it's just not the case. And I personally like Pau Ferro. I like the alternative that it gives to the current offerings by most manufacturers. I like Rosewood, I like Ebony, and I like Maple. There's situations where I don't like Pau Ferro, like my Silver Burst Strat. Silver Burst guitars need either an Ebony fretboard or a Maple fretboard. Personally, that's my thing. I think that's what makes them look best. The Pau Ferro just doesn't jive with it, in my opinion, from a visual standpoint. As far as a playability and construction standpoint, I'll play that guitar all day long. And it sounds amazing, and it plays amazing. As far as the feel is weird to me because I don't get all this stuff about like Ebony. I don't like, people are like, I don't like finished Maple fretboards because they're sticky, and Ebony's smoother and all this other stuff, because all I really feel is the strings. So I don't know, maybe I'm just an idiot when it comes to that aspect of playing guitar, but I don't really feel like I'm feeling the fretboard all that often when I'm playing. But you know, whatever. Guitar players were weird about shit like that. But I mean, I feel like it's disingenuous when people post something to a group and their guitar has like a Pau Ferro fretboard or a Basswood body or a Bologna, whatever wood body, and somebody's like, oh, that's cheap. No, it's not. It's alternatives. Because like it or not, wood is a finite resource, and finding ways around mass depletion of all these different species, they got to do something at some point. And if Pau Ferro was the answer to the CITES situation with Rosewood, where's the harm in that? And again, like I said, for an electric guitar, it doesn't make a difference, and that's all we're talking about here. I'm not getting into the argument with acoustic guitars because I have one acoustic guitar and I don't have anything else to make a comparison with, because I only compare things to what I have personally played. Now, yes, you have brands like Paul Reed Smith that have their SE line and they have Rosewood fingerboards on $849 guitars, and I can see where people get it in their heads that, well, why can Paul Reed Smith make an $849 guitar overseas and have a Rosewood fretboard, but Fender can't make one in Mexico for $1,100 with a Rosewood fretboard? Well, because labor costs are different. There's a point where we need to pull our heads out of our asses and accept the fact that just because something is different does not mean it's worse or cheap. And obviously it's not always better, but like guitar players, you know, for as much shit that people talk on hockey players and football players being superstitious, and you know, the hockey players don't shave and during playoffs or whatever, or like pro ball players that don't change their socks if they get on a winning streak or whatever stupid shit that goes on around there. Guitar players are basically just as superstitious as these sports stars. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen is just absolutely nuts, and I'm not going to get into that here. That's a topic for a whole nother video. But I mean, I think people really need to sit back and take an objective look at the materials that are being used to construct some of these guitars before they run their mouth about things that they don't understand. And that's just my 2 cents on the matter. Like I said, this is just purely from a construction standpoint. This isn't anything about the visuals of the guitar, or the look of Pau Ferro, or the look of Basswood, or anything like that. Like I said, this is just construction only, because the visual aesthetics of a guitar are going to be completely subjective. At the risk of starting arguments in the comments section, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's try to keep it civil. I know I've kind of probably went on a tangent here a little bit, but like always, thank you for taking the time to watch, and we'll see you in the next one.